going to get this guy. Like, I can understand how a young man can allow disappointment to turn into anger, that either wants to just act out destructively or just run away. Like, I get what it's like to be ruled by bitterness and fear, so much so that you just end up living in this vicious cycle of addiction and destructive behavior for years and years. Yeah, I get that. Like, I can certainly understand being controlled by all the shame that comes from all of those bad choices. And friends, I'll tell you today, like, I'm very grateful that my own decisions, all of my bad choices, didn't lead to an early death like they did for Absalom. But just like Absalom, they led me down a very dark road. They led me to a place that was just controlled by fear. I wanted so much to control things that I couldn't control. I wanted to act out. I wanted to run and hide. I wanted to be numb. I just wanted to disappear. And that road eventually just led me, by 2004, that road, the drug addiction and the life that I had chosen, led me to yet another arrest and then incarceration. And friends, that was the darkest time in my life. For those of us who've never met or that we've never shared stories before, like, I learned some really amazing things in that time. Like, I remember praying a prayer that I think most people pray when they first go to jail, but hopefully not many of you know about that. But you know, when we get into that place where, like, the consequences of our actions have led us to that place we don't want to be, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, when we're in that place that we so much want to get out of, we pray a prayer that sounds a little bit like this: God, get me out of here, and then I'll change. You feel me on that? Like when our circumstances are uncomfortable or they're scary or painful, we get really impatient, right? And often if we pray at all, we tend to have conversations with God that are very one-sided. Conversations that sound a lot like, hey, if you, then I. Right? Like, God, if you will just get me out of here, if you will do this, or if you will do this list of things that I want you to do, then God, I promise I'll do this. I promise, then I'll change. Just like Absalom, we want to take matters into our own hands. We want things to happen according to our timing instead of waiting on God's timing. So we try to do things that make us feel in control of our circumstances, because in reality, we are totally out of control. You know what I mean? So initially, and thankfully, God didn't get me out of jail. And looking back, I'm forever grateful that he didn't, because what I know now is that if I would have gotten out right away, like so many times before, I would have went right back to business as usual. I would have went right back to the same life and nothing would have changed. See, God knew in that season that I needed to be locked down. I needed to be in jail. Because, friends, it was in jail that I got sober for the first time in over 10 years in my life. It was in jail that I met a chaplain who gave me a Bible. It was in jail that I began to read that Bible, and I read the Gospel of John, the story of Jesus, the first time for myself. It's in jail that my heart began to soften. It's in jail that I met Jesus through the scriptures. And it didn't take long before my prayer changed from, God, get me out of here. And then I promise I'll change, to, God, don't let me out of here until you've changed me. So many of us right now, friends, we're living in a time, we're in a season where we just want our circumstances to change. We just want God to change our circumstances around us, but maybe God desires to change us in the midst of our circumstances. See, it was when I felt the most shame that he reintroduced me to his love for me. It was when I wanted to be in control that he taught me surrender. It was when I felt the most alone that I found this relationship with Jesus. And it was while I was locked down. Don't miss this. It was while I was locked down that he taught me freedom. And as the weeks and the months continued to go by, my prayer went from, God, get me out of here, and then I promise I'll change, to God, don't let me out of here until you've changed me, until finally it was just, God, now that you've changed me, don't ever let me go. Don't ever let me go. And that's when God got me out of jail. When he knew I was ready.